another one, but I'll sing it. Listen, there's so many of them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We stopped last week with the benefits from Al-Fatihah, that the three aspects of Tawheed are included in Al-Fatihah: Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, and the last one was Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed al-Ibadah, singling out Allah in worship. So we stopped on the end of Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in. فقال حفظه الله فإياك نعبد تحقيق لكلمة لا إله إلا الله وإياك نستعين تحقيق لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. That this statement in Al-Fatihah, إياك نعبد, you alone we worship, is the realization of and the implementation of the statement La ilaha illallah. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah. Yani إياك نعبد, you alone we worship. We only worship Allah Jalla wa Ala, which is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. In the second part of the ayah, وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, and you alone, we seek your help and your aid alone, which is the meaning of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no might and there's no strength except that Allah gives us strength. طيب. He says, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ نَخُصُّكَ يَا اللَّهِ بِالْعِبَادَةِ. The meaning of إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ is that we're saying, oh Allah, you alone we specify, you only with our worship. Only Allah do we worship. So all types of worship, which is not just the salah, but fasting, hajj, slaughtering, dua. Dua is worship, even making dua. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ said that dua is worship. All of these things are considered to be worship, so all of these things fall under the ayah, Iyyaka na'budu. Meaning if we're making hajj, then our hajj, that form of worship, is for Allah only. Not just to say that we did our obligatory hajj, or not so people can put a name on us and call us Haji or Al-Hajj. Whether it's fasting or any of them, all of those acts of worship they fall under the ayah, Iyyaka na'budu. You alone we worship. He says, يقول تعالى إن تدعوهم لا يسمعوا دعاءكم. If you were to call on other than Allah, they don't hear your dua. وَلَوْ سَمِعُوا, and if they did hear your dua, مَسْتَجَابُوا لَكُمْ, that they wouldn't be able to answer you anyway. Showing that all worship is for Allah Jalla wa Ala. وَيَوْمُ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكْفُرُونَ بِشِرْكِكُمْ, and on Yawm al-Qiyamah, those people that they were calling on other than Allah, they're going to deny that they had anything to do with it. They're going to deny that they had anything to do with the shirk that the people were, or that they were putting partners with Allah, that they had nothing to do with Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah said, call on them if you want, but they don't hear you. If they were to hear you, they wouldn't be able to answer. And then on Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to turn around and say that they had nothing to do with that shirk that the people were performing, for them calling on other than Allah Jalla wa Ala. That's a sort of Fatir. Sort of Fatir, ayah number 14. He says, so the person who understands Iyyaka na'budu, who really understands it, if a person understands the meaning, which is more than, as it says in the translation, you alone we worship. It says like that, right? But if a person understands what that contains, that meaning, it is the implementation of La ilaha illallah. This in itself is the meaning of the statement, I bear witness, none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. If a person understands this, لا يمكن أن يتوجه إلى غير الله ولا يمكن أن يستعين بغير الله. If a person really understands the ayat, then it's going to be impossible for them to turn and seek or worship other than Allah, if they understand the ayat, or to seek aid or help from other than Allah, if a person really understands the ayat. كيف يستعين بمن لا يملك لنفسه ضرا ولا نفعا? How would a person who understands that Allah Jalla wa Ala is worthy of worship only, and He is the one we seek our help and our aid and assistance from, and that He is the owner of the Day of Judgment, He owns everything, how would a person turn after that, after knowing that, and seek help from a person or a thing, knowing that that person or thing can't even benefit their own self? That another person can't even benefit their own selves except by Allah's permission, Allah's mercy, that Allah gives that person strength. So why seek help from another person who doesn't have their own? They can't even help themselves. They can't even aid their own self, except that Allah aids them. That Allah aids a person to be able to help and have their own strength for themselves. So He says, after a person knowing this, knowing the meaning of Iyyaka na'budu and the meaning of Iyyaka nasta'een, that this should strengthen a person's iman, and this should strengthen a person's tawheed and belief in Allah, knowing that there's no la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, there's no strength except that Allah gives us strength. Therefore, we implement the ayat, Iyyaka nasta'een, that all worship is for Allah, and that all of our aid and help we seek from Allah. And there's an Arabic point there, but we won't get into the details of that. The way that the siyaq of the ayat is mentioned, that it even in the Arabic language, it specifies that all worship, it removes any doubt of worship being spread to other than Allah, just by the way the ayat in Arabic is structured. طيب. In the next chapter, Al-Ikhlas wal-Mutaba'a, that in Al-Fatihah, it discusses the two conditions, Shartay Qubul al-Ibadah. Shartay Qubul al-Ibadah. In Al-Fatihah, the two conditions for every act of worship to be accepted. These two conditions are discussed in Al-Fatihah. The two conditions for every action of worship, for every act of worship to be accepted, then there are two conditions. طيب. The first condition is, the first condition for worship to be accepted.
The intention has to be pure. The intention has to be correct.
The intention.
Solely for the sake of Allah.
Solely for the sake of Allah. Al-Ikhlas. And the second condition.
Sincerity.
That is sincere. Ittiba' Rasul, following the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. That the first one is ikhlas, and the second condition for acts of worship to be accepted are that a person follows the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. طيب. What if a person is missing one of those conditions? They're sincere, but they don't follow the Sunnah. Is the action accepted? La. طيب. They follow the Sunnah, but they're not sincere. They follow the Sunnah. They praying according to the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah here, apparently what you see, but in here, right? They're praying because somebody's watching them, or they're praying because they don't want to look funny not praying. All these Muslims in here, if everybody stands up to pray and I don't pray, they're gonna be looking at me funny. Let me just get up and pray. طيب. So he says, فالعبادة لا يقبله الله من العامل إلا إذا كانت له خالصة. That worship is not accepted except, the only way to worship is accepted. That's not just the salat. That's for fasting, that's for hajj, that's for giving sadaqah, that's for attending Jumu'ah, right? All acts of worship are not accepted except that a person is sincere. That they know that their worship is sincerely for Allah and that the reward is for Allah Jalla wa Ala, and the second one, that they do it according to the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why Allah said in the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. Say to them, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I am a man, I'm a human like you, but I have received revelation, أَنَّمَا إِلَهٌ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ, that indeed your Lord is one Lord. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. So whoever is looking forward, whoever hopes to meet their Lord, يوم القيامة فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا, then they should do righteous actions. Number one, they should do righteous actions. وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. And secondly, they should do righteous actions. And secondly, that they shouldn't put any partners with Allah when they do their worship. In Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 110. So, number one, in this ayah, this is outside of Al-Fatihah, but it's containing the same meaning. In this ayah are the two conditions for actions to be accepted. That a person has to be sincere and they have to follow the Sunnah. So Allah says, whoever desires to meet his Lord, Yawm al-Qiyamah, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا, then they should perform righteous actions. This is one of the conditions. Does anybody know how? Allah says, whoever desires to meet their Lord, then they should perform righteous actions. فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. How is that a proof for a condition to be accepted that it has to be according to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Because in the Messenger of Allah, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is an example.
طيب.
You have to follow that. It's
طيب, I'm with you.
Are you talking about? But you say that verse.
That verse, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Whoever wishes to meet their Lord, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا, then they should do righteous actions.
So they tell me explain what righteous actions.
ممتاز. أيوه. Exactly. جيد. والعمل لا يكون صالحا إلا إذا وافق السنة. That an action is not considered righteous except that it agrees with the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's how we know if something is righteous or not. Not what we consider righteous. What we consider good. What we consider good might go against the Sunnah. Right? What's righteous is what is in agreement with the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. طيب. So Allah said, whoever wishes to meet his Lord, then let him do righteous actions. Yani, let him follow the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. طيب. As he is the one who explained to us and clarified to us what righteous actions are. As Allah said in another ayah, وَإِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Allah said in another ayah, in Surah Shura, in ayah number 32, where Allah said, إِنَّكَ, meaning Muhammad, indeed you guide people to the straight path. So the Prophet ﷺ, he is the one who guides us to what are righteous actions, not what we consider righteous actions. Because we might consider something to be, or someone to be upright, right? Or let's just say, a good brother or a good sister, a good brother. What makes him a good brother? That is in accordance to with the Sunnah. Islam is really what makes a person a good brother. A person might have good characteristics, but they don't necessitate that it's a good brother or a good sister. طيب. So in Surah Al-Kahf, which is, he's bringing the same point that he's going to bring for Al-Fatihah. First of all, it says, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Whoever wishes to meet his Lord, then do righteous actions, which is al-i'tiba', al-mutaba'ah, following the Sunnah. Then Allah says, after that, in the ayat, وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. He says, هَذَا فِيهِ إِخْلَاص. This is ikhlas, sincerity. That a person does the righteous actions and they don't put any partners with Allah in their worship. All of that comes in one ayah in Surah Al-Kahf. All of that comes in one ayah in Surah Al-Kahf. So these two conditions that are going to be mentioned is going to show where they're mentioned in Al-Fatihah also. The same two conditions found in Surah Al-Kahf that we're talking about are found in Al-Fatihah. فَهَذَانِ شَرْطَانِ لَا قَبُولَ لِلْأَعْمَالِ إِلَّا بِهِمَا. So in another ayah, Surah Al-Mulk, where Allah says, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Allah created death and life in order to test you to see who is أحسن عملا, who is the best. Who is the best? And the best, he says, if you pay attention, Allah said أحسن عملا. He says he didn't say أكثر عملا. He didn't say who does the most. He didn't use the word أكثر, that we created life and death to see who does the most deeds. Because it's not about who does the most deeds. Aywa, who does the best deeds. Huh? Aywa. Akthar. He didn't use Akthar, he used Ahsan. Whose deeds are the best. How we know if a deed is the best? How we know who does the best deed? Huh? It's according to the Sunnah. Best? Definitely got to be according to the Sunnah. And? Huh? Huh? Again? Yeah, Quran, Sunnah, Tayyib. So as long as it's Quran and Sunnah, it's the best deed. That's a question. As long as it's Quran, we do about Quran and Sunnah, it's the best deed.
What the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said was the best
G.
The afkars, different times of saying that.
How you know you're doing the deed in the best manner that it can be done?
According to the example set by the Messenger of Allah.
Yes. The whole thing we're talking about, huh?
Description of the action, how you want detail about performing that action.
The mutaba'ah, following the messenger, and ikhlas. Right? Yes, following the Quran, following the Sunnah, all this, but you gotta be sincere also. That's the best deed. That is sincere, and it's sincere, that a person is sincere when they do it, seeking Allah's reward, and that they are following the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why the famous statement of Fudail ibn Iyad, rahimahullah, Fudail ibn Iyad, rahimahullah, when they asked him about this ayah. So they said, where Allah says, to test you, see who is you is best in deeds. He said, Qala Fudail, rahimahullah, he said, the best deed, akhlasuhu wa aswabuhu. The best deed is what is the person is sincere and aswab, the most correct, if you could translate it like that. So they said to Fudail, Qila, Ya Aba Ali. That's his kunya. His kunya is Abu Ali, Fudail ibn Iyad, Abu Ali. They said, Ma akhlasuhu wa aswabuhu. How we know if it's the most, if it's sincere, or if it's the best deed? He said, Qala inna al-amala idha kana khalisan wa lam yakun sawaban lam yuqbal. He said, Fudail ibn Iyad, if a person is sincere, and they don't do the action correct, then the action is not accepted. He said, وَإِذَا كَانَ صَوَابًا, and if it's correct, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ خَالِصًا لَمْ يُقْبَلْ. And if it's correct, but they're not sincere, then it's not accepted. حَتَّى يَكُنَ خَالِصًا صَوَابًا, until it is sincere and correct together. وَالْخَالِص مَا كَانَ لِلَّهِ. Khalis, sincere, is that is done seeking Allah's reward. وَالصَّوَابِ مَا كَانَ عَلَى السُّنَّةِ. And the most correct is what is the action is done according to the Sunnah of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So these are the two conditions mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, number 1, Surah Al-Mulk, but the discussion is on Surah Al-Fatihah. So طيب, back to Al-Fatihah, it says, أَمَّا الشَّرْطِ لِلْإِخْلَاصِ. All of this is not Fatihah. It's major. All of this is from Al-Fatihah. That the two conditions for actions to be accepted are found in Al-Fatihah. Anybody know where? Anybody know where it's found? These two conditions. Yeah. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. It says, فَمَعْنَا إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. You alone we worship. He says, what? نَخُصُّكَ وَحْدَكَ بِطَاعَةٍ. That we specify you, Allah, with our obedience. Our worship is only for Allah, which is ikhlas. Huh? that the worship is only for Allah. We don't direct any of our worship to anyone other than Allah Jalla wa Ala. That all of the worship is for Allah Jalla wa Ala. And then he says, there's a hadith where the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or hadith Qudsi, where Allah said, أَنَا أَغْنَى شُرَكَاءَ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ مَنْ عَمِلَ عَمَلًا أَشْرَكَ فِيهِ مَعِيَ غَيْرِي تَرَكْتُهُ وَشِرْكَهُ. That I'm free from a person who puts partners with me. So whoever puts partners with me, then I'm free from them in the shirk. I'm free from the shirk that they committed, and the person. Ikhlas, sincerity, that a person does the action only for Allah. And he brings another hadith that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِمَا هُوَ أَخْوَفَ عَلَيْكُمْ عِنْدِي مِنَ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ. He told the Sahaba, do you want me to tell you something that I fear for you more than the Masih al-Dajjal? More than the Masih al-Dajjal. They said, or he said after that, al-shirk al-khafi, hidden shirk. That a person indiscreetly puts partners with Allah in their worship. That it might not be apparent, meaning they're not standing up worshiping a tree, right? They might be fasting Ramadan, or they might be making hajj, or they might be giving sadaqah, or they might be paying a zakat, or they might be teaching, or they might be praying. That a person in one of those actions, right, where the law here was apparent is that they're worshiping Allah, that they're doing the action for other than Allah. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave an example. He said, "Ash-shirk al-khafi," which shows that this type of action is a form of shirk. He said, "An yaqum ar-rajulu yusalli," that a man stands up to pray. They stand up to pray. فَيُزَيِّنُ الصَّلَاةَ لِمَا يُرَى مَنْ نَظَرَ رَجُلٌ. He says, so the person stands to pray, and when they stand to pray, they beautify the prayer because they see somebody else looking at them. And the Prophet ﷺ described this as a form of shirk, which is usually called showing off, riyah. Riyah. That riyah is a form of shirk, which is dangerous. And some of the ulama considered riyah to be under the statement in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. That indeed Allah doesn't forgive the shirk that partners are put with him. But He forgives anything other than that. And they say riyah is from that because it says shirk in its general, to show how serious riyah is. There's another dua. There's a dua here, another hadith. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أيها الناس اتقوا هذا الشرك فإنه أخفى من دبيب النمل. He said, "Oh people, be aware and be wary and be conscious of this form of shirk that is so inconspicuous you can't even see it. It's hidden than what a small ant." Sometimes you can't even see it. An ant can be crawling in front of you and you won't see it. Another hadith it says, in a black ant on a black rock. If it was a black ant on a black rock in a dark room, you wouldn't see the ant. That this shirk showing off is like that you won't even realize it. And that's why he said this dua. They said, "Qulu Allahumma inna na'udhu bik min an nushrik bika shay'an na'lamuhu wa nastaghfiruka lima la na'lam." This hadith is recorded by Imam Ahmed. حسنه لغيره الألباني في صحيح الترغيب رحمه الله. He said, "Allahumma, O Allah, we seek your protection that we put any partners with you knowingly, that we knowingly do an action and it's not for your sake, that we're seeking a reward from somebody else, or we're doing it for another reason than ikhlas, than seeking Allah's reward." He said, وَنَسْتَغْفِرُكَ, and we seek your forgiveness for what we do that we don't know, that we do an action and it's not for Allah's reward and we don't even know we're doing it like that. It's a serious dua, a serious dua.
In our society, based upon the showing off, could this reach the level of shirk based on an ayah أفرأيت من اتخذ إلهه هواه.
It does, no doubt. Showing off itself is a riyah. Hidden shirk. An ibadah. And the problem is we come from, showing off. So now, when it comes to worship, we got to make sure that we leave in that park somewhere else, that we don't bring it inside of our worship, right? Which is dangerous. It's dangerous, especially now on social media. And who stands up at 2:30 in the morning to pray tahajjud? But you got to take a picture of the rug to let the world know you're praying tahajjud. You know what I'm saying? It's dangerous. Or even take a picture of the hajj on the rug, or it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. One thing's for sure, Allah knows if a person is sincere or not. Right? Allah knows. The dua. Allahumma inna na'udhu bik min an nushrika bika shay'an na'lamuhu. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you that we put partners with you, that we make shirk with you knowingly. That we make shirk with you knowing that we're doing that. And we seek your forgiveness if we do it and we don't know we're even doing it. Showing off. Serious. It's a serious dua. Especially the type of situation we live in. Allah musta'an. I saw a person one day praying in the salah. Praying in the salah. And while they were praying in the salah, they was recording themselves in the salah. Like praying in the haram, at the haram, at the Kaaba. At the haram, at the Kaaba, the person's in the salah, holding the camera while they're praying. In the salah, while they're praying Maghrib. So I'm walking up. I'm like, yo, she holding the camera? She looked at me. Allah musta'an. Allah musta'an. The second condition found in Al-Fatihah, which is al-mutaba'ah, found in the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can be found where? Anybody know? Where can this the first condition for action to be accepted is ikhlas, which is iyyaka na'budu. Ikhlas, that we worship only for Allah. All our worship is for Allah. Ikhlas. The second condition following the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where is that found in Al-Fatihah? Iyyaka nasta'een. That could be under the first one. Ikhlas. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sahih. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path, which is a dua. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayr al-maghdubi alayhim walad-dhalin. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those who you are pleased with, not the path of those who gained your anger or who went astray. He said, this is the dalil على أن الله لا يقبل العمل إلا إذا كان على الضوء الصراط المستقيم الذي دعا إليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. That this portion is a proof that the action is not accepted except that it's according to the straight path. That the action is done according to the straight path that that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, الذي دعا إليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the Messenger called us to sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He called us to the straight path. He taught us how to worship. The straight path is in following the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So is that whole portion
where exactly? What portion of it?
It's the whole.
It can be. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. All of it goes together.
Right.
The end of it is a further clarification of the beginning. غير المغضوب عليهم. Right? That's further clarification of what the Sirat al-Mustaqim is. That was not from the Sirat al-Mustaqim is what they did, those two groups. Those two groups did. It's not from the Sirat al-Mustaqim. It's not from the straight path. But the Sirat al-Mustaqim is the one that those who Allah Jalla wa Ala was pleased with. كما ثبت في الحديث. But the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man amila amalan laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa rad." That whoever does an action that is not from the deen, and that action is rejected, meaning mardud ala sahibihi, returns to the person that is not accepted. And this is why the Messenger ﷺ says, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Pray like you see me pray. Because a person can be sincere and say, "I'm praying," but you're not praying correctly. They're sincere, they really want to pray, they want to pray all five, but they're not praying correct. They're not praying according to the guidance, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. He also said, "لَتَأْخُذُوا عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ." About Hajj. Take from me, learn from me how to make the Hajj, how to perform the Hajj. Because it's worship. It's worship. And in worship, it says, "لَا مَجَالَ أَن تَجْتَهِدْ وَأَن تَقُولَ هَذَا أَفْضَلُ أو هَذَا أَحْسَنُ." You can't just say that something is better, or I'm going to do it this way because it's better. It comes to worship. It says, وَإِنَّمَا حَسْبُكَ السُّنَّةِ وَهَدِيَ النَّبِيِّ كَالْكَرِيمِ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. It's enough that with how the Messenger taught us how to worship for somebody, and somebody has to come with something new. He said, I think it's almost there then, they call it then. He says, وَكَانَ النَّبِيُّ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ, as we all know, he used to get on every khutbah Jumu'ah and say, أَمَّا بَعْدُ فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الْحَدِيثِ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ. The best speech is the speech of Allah, وَخَيْرَ الْهَدِي هَدِي Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So there's no guidance better than the guidance of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in Al-Fatihah we have إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, which shows ikhlas, sincerity for actions to be accepted. And secondly, the ayah اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those who you are pleased with, you bestowed your blessings upon them, not the path of those who gained your anger and those who went astray. That ayah shows the condition of following the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Would that be the verses, the chronological order of the verses?
Mm-hmm.
Would that in and of itself be a proof that the niyat, the intentions is first, followed by the tibah?
The chronological order of this verse or the previous verses? Oh, that it came first?
The verse of niyat, followed by ihdina sirat al-mustaqim and the itibah. Would this be
a proof?
Do he mention in there, or is this?
He didn't mention that because it came first that it's a proof. They didn't mention the order being a proof itself. But alhamdulillah, it comes in a proof. But what if somebody said, I mean, ikhlas generally is, as they say, we've said, Allah. Allah, he didn't mention any tartib, I just leave it there. He didn't mention any order. He didn't mention any order.
So, I have a question pertaining to the ayah. Guys, to straight path. You know how it has like the 4 categories? Anbiya, Saajid, Shuhada. It's like 4. Do we have to fit into them 4 categories? So we ain't gonna get Anbiya, but the truthful, the righteous.
No doubt. Those are you going to be counted from them?
Yeah,
what do you mean that we have to fit in?
Like it says in the tafsir, right? When you read it, it says the 4 categories.
Right.
Anbiya is first.
Right.
The Sadiqeen, the Salihin, the Shuhada.
Right.
These are the 4 categories that fit into that.
Right.
So us
the
is
path,
like,
the path is the path of those people. So the dua is what? Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Guide us to that path. Make us to be of the people who walk the path that they walk.
So out of 4 categories.
Yeah.
Okay.
You with me?
Yeah.
That don't necessarily mean that a person has to be, of course they're not going to be from the Anbiya, you know what I'm saying? But the most important thing is that we follow their way. That's why the dua is so heavy. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those who, that straight path. I think it's the end, right? We'll stop there. Until next week, inshallah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.